So, hello and welcome. It's Monday, the 24th of October, I think. My name's Steve Pugh, and I do something called a growth strategy podcast here on LinkedIn, but it also goes out onto Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and lots of other kind of platforms as well. And what we try and do is introduce you to really interesting people that I think can help your kind of business or career. But again, people that you might be able to kind of relate to their journey, their story, how they got started. And one of the big things that I'm really hot on is that likewise, a lot of young people or people going through their careers are either interested in starting a business or they want to get into things like graphic design, but don't really know where to start. So actually getting to learn from different cool people that might have been there and done it, I think is kind of quite useful. So Angela, who I'm going to introduce you to today, we've worked together on a few different things. One of them is Freelancer magazine, which I advertise in, but actually she does loads of really cool stuff. She won some awards recently. She's been an entrepreneur and a freelancer for quite a long time, and actually kind of a generally nice person as well. So I'm going to bring her in, but if you have any questions, comments, anything, send them in and I'll happily bring them in as well. So Angela, there we go. You're now live and everyone can see you and hear you.
Oh, hi, Steve. Thank you for having me.
And I know I said it before we went live, but I love the product placement of the bag behind you.
Of the Freelancer magazine.
But the funny thing is that you can do product placement or branding well in a way that my pet peeve is when someone's blatantly at home, but they've got a roller banner behind them and you're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
that is so fucking cheesy. It's just,
Yeah.
that's not okay.
No,
But
no.
that's
And
nice.
I actually use the bag, so it is my bag. There's a few other bags there, but I thought, oh, it's the Freelancer magazine. I'll put the plug in for today.
No, it's cool. And I was going to say, I was going to have my mug, but it's in the kitchen. So I've just got water today.
Ah, well, I have my mug too. Look, got a cup of tea waiting.
Oh, nice. So how's your Monday been?
Um, Good so far, actually. First off, I always work out in the morning, so I'm not saying like I'm a 5 a.m. person, but I really am because I just got used to waking up early in the morning. So that's my thing. My mum always used to get up early, so I've been trained to get up early. But today, I've been to the gym and came back and working for a client on some graphics for them for their Christmas internal graphics, internal comms team. So
No,
it's
it's
quite
quite
fun
because
today. It's a nice chilled out Monday.
I was going to say, because on your socials, you do talk about fitness quite a lot because you cycle as well. Is that right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Yeah. Recently, last about year and a half ago now, I've joined a cycling group called Be Well, Black Women on Wheels, and we meet up every other Saturday, and we do rides in London, so
Oh,
north,
cool.
south, east, or west. Actually, we've actually done one to Windsor, so that was quite a tough one. But and we've also been on weekends away. So yeah, I like cycling. Yeah.
No, cool. I must admit I've always played basketball and it's always been my like sport of kind of choice.
Sure.
But recently the doctor told me that I had a fatty liver, so I needed to kind of lose a bit of weight because it's all particularly there. So I've started doing spinning classes in here. So after I finish work, I put on a little Peloton app thing and just
I've
do
got the
that.
Peloton, yeah.
Well, I've got the cheap version. So the proper version is like 1,300 quid for the bike and then 40 quid a month. That's where I picked up a bike for 90 quid on Facebook Marketplace and I get the same class for £12 a month, which then seems like a bargain because it's 4 times cheaper than the proper one. But it's the kind of thing that I kind of get it. But also when people are into their fitness, I do think there's a lot of synergies with people that kind of are into their fitness and entrepreneurs and do their own kind of stuff as well. So as a bit of an intro, would you be happy to give a bit of background on who you are, where you're from?
Yeah, sure. Well, I grew up in East London and I'm still in East London. I've lived here all my life. I grew up with my mum and my sister and my dad too, but my dad passed away when I was 15. So just about the time I'm about to start my GCSEs actually. And so my mum became my mum and dad and like got us through our education. But yeah, that's where I live now, and I'm with my husband and 2 children and the cat. Yeah, and I went to school in East London, so yeah, I've been here all my life, pretty much.
And then you have your own business?
I do. I have a business called Lyons Creative. Celebrated 10 years this year.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was quite good. Yeah, it's quite good to we finally realise, look at the date, because it nearly passed me and I was like, oh my God, it's 10 years this April. I was looking at, the financial tax years and everything. You're like, oh my gosh, 10 years. So
one of my clients, they had their 11th birthday recently, but I twigged that I've been working with them for 2 years, is where to me, I was like new, but actually I've been working, and it's a really funny one how quickly time passes. And one of the things that really kind of gets me about business is that actually, especially if you've got big goals, that time's going to go anyway. So actually, there's no problem with setting yourself big goals, because actually at some point, I'm only like 2 years in. But at
Yeah.
some point, I hope to get to 10, and just, getting there is a big achievement because a lot of people
I'm sure
don't.
you will, Steph. I'm sure you will.
But
Yeah.
no, cool.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I love to do, and I think it really kind of sets the scene for the interview, and we're going to talk about the magazine later and lots of other kind
Yeah,
of stuff,
sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
is I think it's really important to go to, people's backstory and what were they like at school and stuff. Because again, I
Yeah,
was a bit
sure.
naughty at school, and it was that balance where I don't think I really found my path in life probably until I was about 24, just being honest.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But actually, I didn't necessarily have great guidance about what I wanted to do. And like the school that I
Yeah.
went to, our
Mm-hmm.
careers talk, and this was true, was by the local prison, and it was basically
Mm-hmm.
don't go to prison.
Oh, blimey.
And there was almost no real positive stuff. Anyway,
Yeah.
but it was
Yeah.
almost where I think people miss that. But nowadays, if someone's interested in something, they can jump on YouTube or whatever
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
find out about graphic design or whatever. But
Yeah.
actually,
Yeah.
hearing from people, it's almost like, what were you like at school?
Yeah. It's funny because I talk to my kids about this a lot, and I tell them they've got so much opportunity now, so much, especially
How
being
old are your kids?
15 and 13.
Wow.
So teenagers, and especially being kids of color, they've got so much going for them. I mean, it's still hard work. They still got work twice as hard for where they need to be.
Yeah.
And but I remember being at school and it was quite tough. It was quite also very strict. So I went to an all-girls Catholic school.
Okay, I went
So
to a
can you
Catholic
imagine?
school. Yeah.
And it was run by nuns. So can
So
you
was
imagine?
mine.
So not saying that I got left behind, because to put it this way, when I first joined from primary school, I was placed in they had sets.
Yeah.
So I was placed in the set of second from bottom.
Okay.
So it was like really like low sets, and you could tell from the kids in there, they just didn't want to be there, didn't want to have any ambition. I was like, I don't want to be in this set. I really don't want to be here. I know I'm better than this. And I didn't have any tests for that. They just put me there. So I basically just worked at school, worked really hard, and just worked my way up. And I got into the second from highest set by the time I left to the highest set. And it's quite disappointing because they just kind of just labelled me from the start. I'm not saying that they did that to everybody, but maybe because I was quiet or I didn't, show potential at that a younger age. But they just put me in that set. But as soon as I was about to do my GCSEs, and as I said, my dad passed away, so that was quite tough. But I got through them, and my favourite obviously was art, and I put all my efforts into that. I really did, and English. I loved English. And then from that, basically I said, "Oh, you should stay on and do A levels at school," and I was like, "Nah, I'm going to college." I did the thing where I followed my friends to college. They all went to a college in London, in Battersea, and part of me thinks that was the worst thing I could have ever done, but also it was the best thing I ever did, because I didn't leave that college with any A levels. I took an A level English, and it was all business, I think, and art. And I pretty much just had a good time. I think coming from the Catholic school, especially all girls school, I was like let loose. I was just had fun with my friends, and I did a few classes. And I shouldn't tell my kids this, but they're mostly listening. But I mucked about quite a bit, and I shouldn't have. But the art teacher actually came up to me one day. She collared me in the common room and said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm coming, miss, I'm coming." And she was like, "No, you need to come to my class now." And when I got to the class, she said, "You need to leave this place, and I'm going to give you a course, and you're going to go there." And I was like, "Okay, I'll go." So I looked at the course. It was a BTEC in art and design, and it was the best thing she ever did for me. And that's from there. I just got my place at Central St. Martin's, did my course there. And so funny enough, I didn't actually do a course in graphic design at all in any of my younger career.
Just out of interest, what was the teacher's name, if you can remember?
Oh my gosh, I can't remember her name. Do you know what? I can't remember her name. But there's another story, another guy. So, what was his name? Oh, the tutor's name. I'll tell you something in a minute. But when I got to Central St. Martin's, it was also a case of like, was this the best thing I'd done, or was this the worst thing I'd done? Because I got to the final year, the third year, and I was like, I found it not hard, but I just wasn't enjoying it anymore, because I did a product design degree, so I never trained in graphic design at all. But while I was there, my tutor was always saying, "Oh, you present your work really well, and like it's really cool graphically." I'm not saying my products weren't great, because I designed furniture and toys, so it's quite, and it's really good, it's really, really good. But being at Central St. Martin's, obviously you got the name behind you and everything. But he said, "Look, why don't you try something else?" And I was like, "I've come too far. I'm in my third year, spent all this time." And he's like, "Well, just get yourself through it." And his name was Robin, and he said, just go and do something in graphic design. And I was like, oh, I don't know. And yeah, I left Central St. Martin's, and I got my degree. So yeah, I managed to finally get there. But it's funny how the paths, it was two tutors that actually told me to do something completely different, because I didn't have, I suppose role models, should we say, around me to say, do this or do that. My mum, she was from St. Lucia, Caribbean heritage. She came over from this, with the 60s, the Windrush generation. So it wasn't really new that she knew the system of how to do certain things in education. So I kind of had to work things out myself. And yeah.
And I think that was very true with my mum as well. And it was just so my mum raised two boys, me and my brother. And my mum was, she worked in various different jobs. She was a cleaner for a bit. She was din lady. And did loads of kind of really kind of cool stuff. But again, so I had a physics teacher called Mr. Clark, and one of the best pieces of advice I ever got was where he said, if I could afford to go away to uni, to do it, because it was a way to just find yourself and just get out of where you're at and just start from scratch. And that was brilliant. And then actually when I was doing basically first year, because I had mechanical engineering, it was really maths heavy and I wasn't very good at maths. And there was a German lady called Nicole Nossum that was one of the professors at lunchtimes, really went out of her way to help me figure stuff out. But I'll never forget that. And I think why it's really important is that then when you fast forward 20 years, I want to pay it for, there's two distinct things I just remember really made a huge difference. That's when, often it does take the art teacher to really kind of say, I think you've got something. Maybe this isn't for you, but actually have you thought about it? It's that guidance, because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And that's totally changed my career path, of them just actually talking to me about it. And just I wish I remember their names. I remember my tutor at Central St. Martin's, his name was Robin, but I can't remember the art teacher's name at college. But I do remember what she looks like.
But it's that kind of thing of what different people throughout your life often steer you without even knowing it.
Yeah.
And they probably dealt with 200 kids, but it's that balance of which just often a little nudge can actually set you on a huge path change.
Yeah, totally. And also I think they also instilled in me that I want to help people too. It could be the most minor thing, when I go to I'm a Catholic, I go to church, and I help out in the children's classes. Or I think this week I'm actually talking to a young lady that contacted me. She's at uni and she wants some work experience. I don't know how I can help her, but because I work for myself at home, but I'm going to try and help her. And when I've worked in offices, I've always tried to get in work experience. So I like to pay it back, because
But I think that's quite cool. And also, hello, Deborah. But what I love, and it's one of the beauties when you do work for yourself, is that you almost get to pick and choose who you work with.
Yes.
As where when you're in a job, you're kind of just forced to do whatever the company needs you to do. As actually, if you work for yourself, you're like, because one of the things that I love to do is I just watch on socials.
Yeah.
So actually, I just look for like talented people I like. I just like their vibe. And then you can reach out with them, work with them, because you can choose to. But the point being, I think nice people that genuinely want to pay it forward and do the right thing, for me, I think you can tell. But it was also interesting that you went to a Catholic school as well. It was Sister Mary Teresa who used to run our place. But again, it's when I'm not hugely religious, but the values and the morals that it kind of instilled in you I think that's kind of quite cool. So what was it like going to Central St. Martin's? Because that's a big deal.
That was a big deal. It's funny, actually, because again, I think it was that whole growing up, and not saying, I think it was actually confidence and not believing in myself. Like when I went for the interview, we had to present our work and we had to leave the room afterwards, and they'd go around and look at it, and then they'll send us a letter 2 weeks' time or whatever it was. I remember getting the letter and I thought, I'm not going to open it until my mum and sister are here. And when I got the letter and it said I've been accepted, I was like, oh my God, have they just accepted me because they need to fill a quota, they need to fill their female quota, they need to fill their black quota, am I actually good, am I, it's just like that whole vibe of like doubting yourself. But when you get there, you're surrounded by so many cool people, so many talented people. I made some of my best friends there, and they're still my best friends now. Funny enough, he's not my best friend though, but Jacob Dyson, Dyson the Hoovers, obviously, his son was in my class, so I studied with him for a bit, for those years. But yeah, it's just it was a cool vibe. It was such a cool vibe. And
like, generally the crowd that go there, this is from a nerdy engineer, it's the cool kids, isn't it? It's the As well, I went to a class where it's the nerds of the nerds. You know what I mean? It's like, but it's just funny. But like, one thing that I don't think I really appreciated until relatively recently is that it's different skill sets and different animals and different people bring magic just from different angles. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And also that was reflecting the tutors too, because you could tell it was just like tutors from all over the world, and they were just like, they were brilliant and they were inspiring, and they, you know, not Central St Martin's one of the best. Yeah, I think it's the best place to study out of in the world, art and design. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Out of interest, what your kids want to do, or do they not know yet?
It's funny actually. I'm choosing A levels for my son at the moment. Well, I'm choosing. He's choosing. You will do this. He's choosing computer science.
Nice.
And maths and physics. He wants to be an engineer of some sort, but he doesn't know. So maybe I should talk to you about this.
Honestly, I'm always happy to help.
Oh, bless you.
When I went into engineering, I'm not going to say I wasn't sure what it was, but I like cars. This is as simple as it was. Yeah. Engineers design cars, done.
Yeah.
But the thing is, that's the lack of guidance.
But that's the way in. Yeah.
I just didn't know.
Yeah.
And then it was just, as I went through my own career, there was a lady who's been on the podcast called Elena, Open My Eyes to Marketing. And actually but it was this being able to do social good was like, it never even crossed my mind before. And it was just, anyway. But this is the reason why I love long form content, is because you can actually explore different ideas and stuff that you never get to do on TikTok or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So what was your career journey after you left? What did you do next?
From Central, again, I think having that name behind you is like, you know, put that on your CV, and I had no work experience at all. But how did I get it? I don't know how I got it again now. Did I contact them? I think I contacted them. It was Habitat. They were looking for someone. It wasn't even to do with design, but it was actually in the design department. I think I saw it somewhere. And I thought, oh, I'll apply. And it was just to cover somebody for maternity leave. And I was just sitting behind a desk answering calls. That was it. I was just the secretary. And then that 2 weeks ended up to be like a month. And then they kept on asking me back every now and again. I was working in a bookshop part-time at the time. And so, yeah, and there was a guy there doing graphic design. And he was doing like labels and graphics for Habitat. And I was like sitting with him, and I was like, oh, what are you doing? Like, he was like, come and sit down with me. So like he had his back, and I was like, what's going on? And it was just like, and he was showing me little bits and pieces. I was like, that is actually really cool. So I was like, oh, okay. And he was like, why don't you try and learn it? And I was like, maybe, yeah. But, you know, Apple Macs at that time, you couldn't afford, I couldn't afford one for sure. So yeah, from there, I did a course in graphic design. It was only evenings and one day a week, I think. And there was a local company, a printers came into the college and said they were looking for work experience. And it's another reason why I like to pay it back. And I got picked for my friend Florence. She's in Belgium now. And she was in the reprographics department of the printing firm. Didn't get paid nothing. I got paid nothing. I got paid my travel fee. That was it. And I said, I'll take it. So I took a job for nothing. Got experience working at printers. Learned everything about printing and design. She showed me the ropes. My first magazine was Tractors Resale. And then from there, I moved on to a company, a reprographics company called Quick. And then from there, I worked in a publishing company.
Oh, cool.
So, and the publishing company I stayed at for 11 years.
Wow. Yeah.
So I started as a graphic designer, then moved my way up to an art director, then deputy creative director. And then I had my children.
Do you ever regret the kind of crappier jobs that, you know, just sat there answering the phones or doing basic stuff?
No. That's the best bit. You get to meet people. As you can tell, I like to chat.
but I agree. And also when you then later hopefully become art director, you appreciate what goes into answering phones, packing boxes. And for me, when my first job was actually on the deli counter in a supermarket, and I had the hairnet. I used to cut meats and cheeses. Then after that, I used to stack shelves in a supermarket. It was quick save on £2.35 an hour. Yeah. I loved that job. And it was just the principle. It teaches you hard work and just working with people and politics and loads of that is priceless now. But I think, you know, as I don't have kids, I know you said you do. Do younger people, do you think, almost expect to go in at a higher level nowadays, you know, as opposed to working your way up?
I think some do. I've met a couple of my cousins, actually, funny enough.
That's right, they won't see this, it's fine.
They won't, they're in St. Lucia. But I know that one of my cousins, actually there's two sisters, and one of them she really worked her way up. She just did everything and anything. And the other one was like, no, I want that job and I'm going to get that job in the bank and I'm just applying for that position. And you know what? She had ambition. She got it. That's great.
Awesome.
But I think I think for me, and I've told my kids this, you're going to have to like just do these jobs.
Yeah,
I mean, Joseph, already my son, he already wants to work in a cafe over the summer holidays and in a restaurant and just, serve people, meet people.
but
I'm like,
like as a
yeah,
prime example, especially if he wants to go into engineering, you will be surrounded. And I really found this, that when you go to uni, if you go to uni, you're surrounded by a lot of bright people.
yeah,
But the real difference maker isn't getting a first or getting 75 and someone else got 72. It's the ability to chat to people and listen to people and create stuff and lead stuff. But you learn that through working in cafes, working in supermarkets, playing sports, and it's the best thing he will ever do is get his grades, hopefully, and do all the other stuff, because that's the magic which people will hire him on, if that makes sense.
Exactly. Another thing I think also with children, I mean, our kids especially, we always talk to them. I think a lot of, I'm not saying that all parents are like this, but it's just, notice when we go out for dinner, it's like no phones at the table. We're talking to each other, we're making eye contact. And I'm not just saying it's because they're my kids, but when people meet my kids, they're like, oh my God, they're like so lovely. And they talk. It's like, yeah, because we do. And me and my husband always talk to them. And, the family, we treat them, now they're a bit older, we treat them like adults, and they've got to respect other people as we respect other people.
No, that's very cool.
Yeah.
So at what point did you get the itch to start your first business?
So again, sorry, I missed that.
At what point did you almost get the itch to start your first business? Start freelancing?
Funny enough, again, mistakes. I left Wardour, the publishing company, which was great, but I just wanted to move on for the next 11 years. And I went into a software company, and I thought it was going to be more digital work and more, creative work, and it just wasn't. And it actually depressed me for about 7 months. And then I just after that I just thought, you know what, maybe I should just do my own thing and just let's see how freelancing goes. So after 7 months there, I went into freelance.
Did you jump, like as in just leave and then start from scratch, or did you start the transition to try and bring in some clients before you left?
No, I literally just handed my notice in, had a month's notice, and
wow.
Yeah, and had no clients. But what I did do is contact my old company, and I said, look, I'm freelancing now. I think I sent a couple of emails out to old companies and said I'm freelancing, and then contacted a recruitment agency, and that was it. And then I never, and to be honest with you, most of my work is word of mouth, and
which is
that
the
was
best
10
way.
years ago.
Yeah, wow. Because with how, almost, because we're going to clip this up as a separate video for like YouTube, but how have you found the past 10 years? Was it all plain sailing? Was it tough times? Was it tough? Was it easy? How did you find setting up?
Setting up, I wish, again, I think the stuff that's around now, around the freelance communities and social media, I wish that was around then, because it was quite tough. It was, by yourself. I tried to organise a few drinks with certain people, but I think when you're by yourself and you're freelancing, I was actually going into people's companies. I wasn't working from home. So you're always like the freelancer on the end, just the extra bod. But that's not like that now at all for me, because I haven't worked it to how I want it to be. But it was hard, but I always had work. I was always busy, to the point where I think it was proper full-time jobs, and I still had to work around my children, and I still had to work around dropping them off. My mum helped out massively. She was like my nursery, and she'd take them to playgroups and stuff. So it was a full-time job pretty much. And I just always, one of the biggest things for me is like, I always wanted to go above my salary that I'd worked in a full-time job, which I did. But it was hard, and I just never switched off. I would always, unless I left the country, left my computer at home, I never switch off. I'm always on. I was always on it.
And do you still feel like that?
To a degree, yeah. I mean, it's half term this week, so I'm hopefully taking Wednesday afternoon and Thursday and Friday off. But I don't have email on my work phone. That's one thing I don't do. And if I'm going out, I'll leave my laptop completely at home.
I suffer a lot with working too much. And this sounds really stupid, but I actually took the weekend off, and I haven't done that for 2 years. You know, I
Wow.
always tinker and play, and it's tough. And but one things that really kind of gets me, because obviously I advertise in this, and we'll get onto it later.
Mhm.
But when
Mhm.
we offer free courses and people reach out, one things that really kind of gets me, and social media is a cause of it because everyone wants to big themselves up, and it's almost like a poison chalice. But it's when you get people that are actually struggling
Mhm. Mhm.
and they just want a bit of help or a bit of guidance, and they just want to
Mhm.
pay their bills,
Mhm.
and it's that balance of where just it's the honesty and the empathy to say when things go well or go badly, or what you find easy or what you
Yeah.
find hard.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, especially on Instagram and stuff, everyone's like, I do 10K a month and I do this and I do that, and it's like,
Oh,
really?
yeah, all that. Yeah. Yeah. So that's that kind of thing I wouldn't. I just think that's a bit. It's a bit show offy, isn't it? It's
Hmm.
a bit.
It's
It's
a
a
bit
bit
wanky is what it
uncomfortable.
is. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's a bit uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable, and I'm like, oh, I just don't. I don't engage in that sort of conversation at all.
but I think there's always a balance between people that are genuinely looking to celebrate stuff in the right way, because they
Yeah.
should be proud of it. But you
Yeah.
also have people that like humble brag, and that there's a fine balance.
Mm.
If you're proud of something,
Mhm.
just own it. Don't pretend that you know anyway.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
point being that, especially, you know, if things at times are tougher and people are worried about paying their bills and stuff, the worry is that I've had a lot of it where everyone thinks themselves that I'm not doing very well, but everyone else
Mhm.
is.
Mhm.
And it's like, no, everyone else is feeling the pain. And, you know, and it's just, that's one of the reasons, again, why I love to do this. You have a lot of people that just listen whilst they're working
Yeah.
away,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they don't feel alone, if that makes
Yeah.
sense, really sense.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. 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 Sorry,
So,
God, you were asked. Don't go.
no, it's cool, cool. So, how did you get involved with Freelancer magazine?
Well, Sophie Cross, she's a friend, and we worked together. How long ago? About 4 years ago. We were working on a magazine for a hotel, and that came about because of again connections. It's just got to believe in karma. You just got to believe in karma. A lot of my work has come from this one guy. He's a printer, and he just has lots of clients, and he just like passes my name on to somebody else, and like so he passed my name on to a company that Soph was working at, and so Sophie and I worked together for 4 years. We never met. It was all
Oh,
online or texting or phone calls. And we were like, yeah, I'll see you in Walthamstow because I live in Walthamstow. She's like, yeah, I'm coming to Walthamstow. Then something would happen. We wouldn't meet up. And then it was just like, oh, this like 4 years of knowing each other. We never met up. And then was it December 2021? 2020? Yeah, 2020, sorry. She said to me on New Year's Eve, she said, I've got an idea, but can I phone you tomorrow? This is on a text, she says. And I was like, yeah, sure. So New Year's Day, she phones and she says, I've got an idea for a magazine. And I was like, okay, cool. And she's like, it's about freelance. I'm like, there must be a magazine about freelancing out there somewhere. She's like, no. And I'm like, and she's like, should we do it? And I was like, yeah, do it. I'll be a designer. So ever since then, yeah, we've been doing that. And issue 7 comes out this week.
well, I was going to say, have you seen it yet? Of course you have, because you put it together. But have
Yeah,
you seen the physical copy?
no,
Do
not yet.
you get excited
I
when they turn up?
I do. Oh gosh, this is going to be a massive secret. Is anyone watching?
Probably not.
I get really nervous and I don't look at the magazine for about a month later.
It's when you spot typos, and it's all of the. What software package do you use? Do you use
I use
InDesign?
InDesign.
It's when you've cropped the image slightly far in. There's a tiny and stuff that you'll notice, but nobody else will. Or you thought it was on
Nobody
the
else will
bleed,
know. Yeah,
and it's just. But I empathise with that. But it shows that you care
yeah,
about the
yeah,
details and stuff. And
yeah,
it's
yeah.
why do you think it's important to have a magazine for freelancers?
Um, what I love about Freelancer magazine, it's about real people. And I think also Sophie does the co-working spaces on Wednesday morning. And with that, you can see that, like what you said, there are real people out there.
Mhm.
There are people doing
Yeah.
okay, and there are people that are struggling, and there are people that want to share their stories. And the best thing about Freelancer magazine is like they're real people. I
Mhm.
don't think anyone's like. There's been talks on mental health. There's bits on exercise. There's on food, and for me, I just think it's just real. And
Mm.
also it's a printed magazine. I mean, I've worked in print for, oh my God, about 20 odd years. Over that, I'm old, Steve. But when you turn something like a printed magazine, you're like, oh, this smells nice. It's like real, and you can keep it on your shelf and you can go back to it. I know there's a digital edition too, which some people do subscribe to, but it's just having
A
a thing that you
real
can flick
thing.
through. Yeah, you can take it, stick it in your bag and read it on the bus or something like that. It's just a real product, and yeah, I just think it's, when all those years ago people were saying print is dead, it's like it really isn't. I've just seen a real resurgence of print. And can I plug somebody if that's okay?
Gosh, can yeah.
Nikki at the International Magazine Centre, she's doing her best, like, to just like elevate magazines, and like she's doing a fantastic job, and she's just, yeah, so check her out, Nikki, International Magazine Centre, and she's brilliant. So yeah.
But I completely agree, because in a world of digital spam and there's so much going on.
Yeah.
Having something physical, I'll try and pick up a different one this time. It's nice. And the one things that I love as well is when we put in like little special offers and stuff. So the issue 7 comes out now, pretty much.
This week.
And it's quarterly. Is that right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love it when people obviously take you up on the special offer in 2 weeks' time. But you also get people that get in touch in like 2 months' time. But because it's a real thing, they put it on the side, they do some stuff, they put it next to the couch, they'll flick through it, put it down, but they keep coming back to it. As where I think if it's a digital version, I think you lose some of the magic. Obviously, you know, I'm a big fan of print and stuff anyway. But I think in a world where everything is digital and the scalable way that people would tell you to do stuff is not print, it's to just do whatever. I do think there's a magic in it's tangibly real in a way that something on the screen isn't, at least for me.
Yeah. And it's funny actually, also I think, again, so I just talk about some other magazines, that during lockdown it was like a lot of people, I work for different magazines too, and a lot of people, they noticed that their subscriber rates went up because they actually wanted something physical that they could like get away from the screen. I'm not saying that we should all get away from screens, but just every now and again, just take a break, just chill, just like, you know, just take time to digest. And yeah.
Can I ask where you get your inspiration from? Because 2 examples, there was this one with the staggered cover. People might not be able to see on screen, but that must be a pain in the arse to design, to put that together and bind.
Do you know what? It's funny. You know when you said you spot mistakes, I put the page numbers on the front cover, and I was like, oh no, I was meant to take them off, but no one noticed.
But then likewise for this one, it had the cutout.
Yeah. That's me and Soph, like, coming up with ideas and just working out what works best. Do you know, I know it sounds really weird, but I just look at stuff around me, what's going on around me, and that's how I get my inspiration. I do like colour quite a lot, so I'm always trying to, I know that cover was black, that one, but I'm always trying to inject something somewhere into it. Yeah. So I don't know, I just there's different graphic designers that I like, and I just follow, and I see stuff online. There's a guy called, not that I ever, you know, don't think his illustrations I can get to ever afford him, but Norma Barr, he's just like, I don't know if you've heard of him. He does a lot of editorial work, but if you check him out, he just has this quirk on images and like their 2-way imagery, and he's just so much fun. And he's done a lot of the covers for The Handmaid's Tale. And like,
nice.
And he just uses block colour. Oh, I love his work.
Because one of the things that I was in London, because you messaged me saying that what did I do wrong? I can't. It was the font size, and it was the copy was too far wide. Anyway. Yeah. But I remember messaging you back because I was in Selfridges on Oxford Street.
Selfridges, weren't we? We were talking about.
And there was the skate park on the top floor. But I get a lot of my inspiration from like retail. You know, brands that are really kind of like pushing the boundaries, especially from an engineering background. I love to see people doing stuff. And then likewise, just being immersed in a big city, because like I'm in Newcastle now, so it's fine. But there's nothing. I'm not gonna say it's nothing special here, but it's a different vibe to walk in the back streets in and around London. You see some of the art shops, the galleries, the people customizing trainers. Oh, I love that. And just going to Liberties, I love to just watch. And my wife thinks I'm crazy because I'll see something and I'll just take a picture of it, because that's how I remember stuff. Yeah,
I'm pretty much the same. Because again, we said I live in London, so it's just stuff around me. It's just, even just like local, it's just, there's just lots going on. Like what you said, London, back streets. You just take a route off a street somewhere in central London, you'll end up in some little alleyway and you're like, what's that about? Or just, I think also people forget to look up. There's so many cool buildings in London. So many. Actually, Central St Martin's was a really cool building. But now it's turned into flats. But it was where William Morris, actually, the arts and crafts movement, where he actually taught. And it was such a beautiful building. But I think people don't appreciate that.
What influence do you think like culture makes on what you do and what you reproduce in terms of like music and arts and what's going on in society? And do you ever try and reflect that in the stuff that you do?
Sometimes if clients allow, or if I
Okay.
can do that, it depends, because a lot of my clients, I do have also financial clients. So, but freelance makes, if I can get it in, I'll get it in somehow. But yeah, I think obviously the playlist, Soph's done the Spotify playlist for the magazine. Culture wise, if I can, I will.
Yeah.
Anything that's around, really, I will try and get it in.
Because one of the things that I always try and look at is that, so I've got a few new collabs kind of coming through, but it's trying to look for people that have their own style. So I get that it's different when you have to do what the client wants to make it work.
Yeah, yeah.
But I just love, it's part of the reason why the guy I use, Jez, who does all my photography, I went to uni with him.
Oh, I love his work. I think I've told you before. Yeah.
But it's the fact that so I actually gave him his first ever job when we were proper student hustling, trying to just figure out how to make but what I loved was that on his own Instagram, he would go out like as a passion, not to get paid, with his camera and take pictures of his friends. I remember just looking at them going, I want that. I just, but I think you can't fake authenticity and creativity if it's good. So if someone's got it, they've just kind of,
if someone's got it, yeah, of course. And like what you said, your friend's photographer, I've got a friend that's a photographer, and he's like, he just watches people. He'll just like snap them, and I'm like, oh yeah, you can't go around taking photographs, you need permission. But he's like, I'll ask them afterwards. It's like, but just, you've got to have an eye for it. And I think that's kind of like, it's weird. You just kind of, when I design, I kind of just, I'm not saying that I'm not bigging myself up or anything, but it's just, I kind of know what looks good and what doesn't. I just got to make it fit and work.
What is it you love about graphic design?
I think just that creating. I just love doing something that's people find enjoyable, that they'll like, and they'll go, oh, I like that. And that's what I love about it, just making it all work. I mean, I can have the most dullest of Excel sheets and I'll make an infographic out of it. And I'm like, look what I did. So if they like it, I'm happy, and that's what makes me happy.
I must, the ability to engage people in content, to actually make it interesting, you want to look through. But I think I am like a proper nerd. If I get into, I love detail on detail. So it's just, I appreciate people's work. I've worked with people in the past where I'll spend hours doing something. They don't give a shit. They're just like, yeah, fine. And I'm like, breaks my heart. Or even before I edited a video for a client, which I sent them and we posted like 2 hours ago, and someone said, how can I see it? So I started to show it to them on my phone. And they weren't really paying attention, so I just turned it off. I was like, if you don't appreciate my work, I'm not going to. But it's the thing. But the point is, I love creatives and people that get into stuff, and it's just, you can tell if something's good or not. Do you know what I mean?
Can. Yeah, you can.
I think you can. And it's funny when people are like, but what they do is so simple. So no, it's not simple. It takes years of craft.
And my friends, that's one of the things. Not going into pricing, but that's one of the things. Like, actually, it is with pricing actually. But somebody can say to me, oh, can you do this for me? And I'm like, yeah, I can do that, but it's going to cost this amount. And they're like, but it won't take long. But you're paying for my expertise and my experience of all those years. You can't just have it just like that. But,
so you recently did a rebrand for Lyons Creative.
Say that. It's funny that. Say that as being creative. That like my rebrand for Lyons Creative was I had a logo that was there for about 6 years that was so dull. it was black text and it said Lyons Creative, and I was like, I just didn't have time. I must admit, I just didn't have time.
Talk me through the process.
Well, the first thing was, I actually did have a logo for Angela Lyons Design when I first started out, and that was the name of my company. Then my husband went freelance and said, I'm going to join your company. And I was like, okay. And he's like, well, we can't have that name because it's your name. So I was like, Lyons Creative. And then I was like, then he left and went and got a full-time job. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not changing it back again. So I had this logo that was just like a placeholder on my website and on my invoices. And then last year I thought, I got to change this. And it took me all of last year up until January this year to change it. And I'd been looking at websites, I'd been looking at what people doing, freelance graphic designers, what they'd been doing, and looking at amazing companies. And in the end, I was just like, I can do this. And my friend, again, can I mention her? Maria Gonzalez. She's an amazing graphic designer. So I was like, Maria, please, like, help me with this, because I know what I want and I know how to do it. And can we work on it together? Because I'm my own worst critic, because I don't think that it's good. And she's like, no, it's good. And I was like, the colours, what about the colours? And she's like, well, let's do this, let's do that. And then we got together and we did it. And I was like, oh my God, thank you. Because when you're a designer, my mum always says, a shoemaker never has his own pair of shoes. And I just thought, I've got to do it. So I did it. And so I worked the logo for that. And then I designed my website in Squarespace. and I wrote it myself. And I got my friend Ayo, actually, because I had a vision of what I wanted my photography to look like. So I had some props at home, like my Pantone cards and my books. And I said, let's go and have a photo shoot again in London. Just went to the South Bank Centre.
Nice.
Didn't pay for the venue. Just sat in the open spaces. They're cool. There's so many cool people there. They just like, yeah, whatever. And he's taking photographs of me. So they were my website photos. And I wrote my website. Got Soph to check it for me. And I got another plug. Is that all right for somebody? Tom Garfield. He helped me do the techie bit at the end when I just needed to get it all going. So they were brilliant.
But did you find it difficult to let go and let someone else, tweak it and choose the font and choose the colors, or did you always kind of work closely together?
No, we worked together. Yeah. Just
because it's when it's your baby.
Yeah.
Like, how many times did you tweak it after it was finished? Or not too bad?
A couple of little things. I just moved the things just for my eye, just because I spotted a few things. But Maria's brilliant, so we worked on it together. So I wouldn't change it that much.
Yeah, but it's. I think almost tinkering with something is almost the beauty of it. It's just, it shows that you love it and it shows that you care.
Yeah.
I think when you see too often, like there's a company that I left about 9 years ago. They haven't touched the website in 9 years, and it was dated then.
Oh wow!
But the point being, some people just don't care, and it's just, snooze you lose. It's
sometimes I think for me also, it wasn't that I didn't care, because I did care. It was in the back of my head, but because I've had client work and I got to pay the bills, it was just like, what am I doing this? And I literally just did it at night and at the weekends. And it took over my life, like the beginning of this year, end of last year, and beginning of this year, because I thought I've got to get it done. So
you recently won some awards.
Oh yes.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to tell people what they were and what they were for?
Yeah. It's an organisation called Digital Women. And I was finalist for Graphic Designer of the Year and Freelancer of the Year, and I won Graphic Designer of the Year, which was amazing. It was just unbelievable. And I came runner-up as Freelancer of the Year, and it's all women that are in business, have their own business, or working in digital space.
No,
and it's run by a lady called Lucy Hall. So yeah, she's got another event next week, so we're going to that. But I'm just listening to that one. I'm not taking part up for any awards. But yeah, it was such a humbling, honoured experience, to be honest with you. I was actually at the back of the room when they were calling out the names, because I met a group of ladies there. We were listed, but we were also cheering on everybody else. And then they called out my name, and somebody said, "Angela, that's you," and I was like, "What?" I was like, "Oh, okay."
No, honestly, it's because obviously I saw all the photos on socials and stuff, and it's. I imagine it's just. Did it feel just nice to have recognition for all of the years of hard work?
Yeah, I think it's a really nice feeling. It's funny what you're saying about people earning money online and just like putting yourself out there. So I don't really put myself out there like that much, and it was very the last few weeks, since a couple of weeks from that Friday, I've just been posting pictures of myself because they've sent me press packs and this, that, and I've wrote a blog post, and I'm like, oh, a bit cringy. It's like, that's me. but it's a real accolade, and I'm really, really proud. And after 10 years in business, when I came home and I told my I phoned them when I phoned them. They were just my family. They were just, they were just in bits, like, oh, Mom, just my husband. They wanted to take me out and celebrate, but it was so lovely.
Yeah, that's class. What's the dream for the future for Lyons Creative and/or Freelancer and/or anything?
Anything. Oh my gosh, my biggest dream. I know it's going to sound, it's not business related at all, but I'd love to get back to creating. I'd love to. I miss kind of uni days of making things, like getting dirty or drawing or painting or making things. And my biggest dream is to live by the sea somewhere, hopefully in the Caribbean. I love the sea, and I just would love to be there.
See, I think that should be the front cover of issue 9. Is you paint the front cover and just Damien Hirst kind of just going nuts with it, dots and paints. But the thing is, I don't know about you, but for me, it's the creativity it makes me happy. Yeah. And actually, ironically, that when years ago I wasn't in a great place, and someone said, actually, look, I think are you okay? Because I'd stopped posting and stopped making videos and doing stuff. And actually, what I'd realised that when I was unhappy on my creativity, it stopped. And I think it's an underestimated tool to kind of just let your emotions out and just play. and just have
Yeah,
fun
just
with it.
even do something, even like scribbles and doodles. You know, like I think you've seen Amy Nolan online. Like she has these little challenges, like do a little doodle today, 5 minutes, just doodle something. And I'm like, oh yeah, just draw, just do something, and just sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. But I just love when I see her pop up in my post, and it's just a bit of release. It's like just taking time for you.
Yeah, but I think when people recognize people that love what they do. Does that make sense? And again, people and clients, so the guy from the printers that keeps recommending you, he'll do that because you do a good job, but he'll tell it you kind of care and you want to do a good job.
Yeah.
And I think that's, again, part of the beauty of being able to work with different people is that, for me at least, I want to work with people that care about what they do, and people will like that and they'll resonate with that. So, you know, those same people will celebrate you if you win an award, but they'll celebrate you probably if you don't. And I think
exactly that.
It is so tough being a freelancer, or even it's tough being in a job. It's tough just living at the moment.
It
but
is,
actually,
yeah.
No, cool. So I tend to end a lot of the interviews with a few kind of set questions. One of which, and you can pick any time in your life or that kind of thing. If you were to give advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Believe in yourself. Believe in yourself more. Yeah, I would say that. Just don't let anyone say you can't do something.
I imagine you give that advice to your kids as well.
Yeah, I think it's if you've got the power to do it, you can do it. That's why.
Nice and simple. Honestly, I think it's cool. And then, would you be happy to share the best piece of advice you've ever had?
It's back to my mum again, and it's be kind. She's such a kind soul. She really is, and she's always said, be kind and don't. It's like that whole thing of don't do something against somebody that you wouldn't want doing to yourself. Just be kind. Remember, you don't know what's going through their mind for the day. Just be kind. That's one for me.
No, it's cool. It's cool. Well, honestly, thank you for your time today. It's been like we've known each other kind of probably about 2 years now, however long it's been. You lose track with lockdown and stuff.
I miss your text in the morning. Text on LinkedIn.
But early morning. It's just, but again, I appreciate just getting to work with nice people, and it's like, so I don't know where I'm gonna end up, and likewise, but it's just almost the fun of it is in the journey. But then likewise, going back to your own experience, the tutors and the people that are just like, oh, have you seen this? Have you found this? And then even how I discovered Freelancer magazine, I can't even remember. Someone somewhere just tagged it, and then I'll go and check it out. Oh, look,
yeah. And thank you, Steve. Sorry to interrupt. I just want to thank you too for supporting. Sorry, I need to say that. So thank you very much.
You don't have to, but no, honestly, but I in some ways don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to find my way forward, same as everyone else.
I think everyone else. That is for everyone else.
but that's the kind of, like I was in Cubs and Scouts growing up, but it's almost where just do your best. And then this could all end tomorrow. But as long as I feel I've done my best, I'm okay with that. I'm happy to get another job if I know that I didn't half-arse it and kind of work hard. And I'm trying to do my mum proud and stuff as well. But it's
exactly. Just do your best what you can do. And another thing is, like, not everybody's got it now. Like what you said, it's like, I'm not saying not everybody knows the answers and not everybody's got it all sorted and figured out. Just do it as we go along.
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you for your time today.
Thanks, Dave.
Enjoy the awards if you still get your family to take you out and stuff. And
I'm going to ride on that for another year.
I think, well, I'm sure it counts for 364 days or whatever you've got
exactly. No, it's been good.
And then honestly, I'm really looking forward to seeing issue 7.
Yeah, it's out this week. Should get it this week.
Oh, cool. Do you want to give the magazine a plug where people can find it, follow it?
It's Freelancer magazine, and it's .co.uk. And if you go into the section that says shop, or follow us on socials.
And then I'm sure you're going to chase me at some point for the artwork for issue 8, which would be next time.
Yeah. I love your adverts.
But what I'd love to see is almost some of your artwork, when you said the creativity, the drawing, because that's the other thing that I always try and do, is that I try and take inspiration from you and other people about what I reflect back, and it's that kind of, I just love seeing people pushing the boundaries and trying different things. And even if it's as simple as, I know it's not simple, a cutout and a page cover. I appreciate that people are trying to push the boundaries and do. I love that.
Just something different, yeah.
It gives me joy. So thank you for your time today. I will let you go.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you to anyone that kind of tuned in. And yeah, I'll speak to you soon.
All right, thanks, Dave.
No worries. Cheers, Angela. Bye.
Goodbye.